In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we discuss the issues and problems that plague the underserved and marginalized communities and how we can best help with resources and inspiration to build those communities. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We have Coach Emery Cannon. And for Coach Emery, as a certified professional coach and author at Cannon Sales Consulting, I have been helping people overcome objections and become greater in life and business for over 2 years. With more than 20 years of experience in sales management, sales training, sales coaching, and recruiting, I have developed a deep understanding of the sales process and skills needed to succeed in any industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to the show Coach Emery Cannon. Hello,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here today.
Well, we're honored to have you here because the experience that you have in the industry that you're in means a lot, not just for business in general, but again, for those communities that we're trying to reach, as well as folks in the business world in general. Everybody's interested right now to know what this, the situation is with what you're doing as a business coach and how you're helping businesses.
Well, I like to help individuals more. I like to go to businesses and find, where I can best serve in a sales environment. And particularly with the last couple of days coming past, you're going to need a more skilled job or have more skills in any industry that you're in more than ever, especially as a Black person.
Right.
And so I don't care if you're a plumber or electrician, especially sales, because that's what I do. You're definitely going to have to be the best. We're not living in the times now where you could just be average or moderate at any position and be, an African American or Latino American. You're going to have to be the best. And they've proven that in the past 2 days, getting rid of DEI all over the place. And I'm just watching and I'm paying attention and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to help a lot of people.
Well, before we get deep into the show, when I was just reading your bio, is there anything you'd like to add to that before we get further into the show?
Well, I did start a podcast back December 1st. So I guess I'm a podcast guy now.
Multifaceted.
And what I like to do with the podcast, just to be honest with you, is not for me. I'm not doing it for the views. I do get a few views, but what's more important to me is that I have people from the immediate community on there, not only advertising what they do, but telling how they overcome objections every day in their everyday business. And that's very important to me because it's not just about me and my sales, but it's about educating people in general, and especially young people, how to overcome objections. Don't get to a roadblock and stop. So that was more of one of my passionate moments there. That's what I wanted to do to help the community.
Oh, wow. Well, see, that's why you are definitely a perfect guest to be here today. And This is definitely, I know this is going to be a great show. We're going to start first with the work you do as a business coach. Can you tell us what inspired you to become a business coach?
Well, I learned the process. And so I've been in sales 20 plus years. And, my first couple of years in being in sales, I kind of was successful only because I was lucky. I had no depth about processes. And as I learned the process, I became more successful. But before that, I was just a really lucky guy with a good smile, and I was young then. Really lucky and young, and I had a good smile. So people just was like, yeah, okay, if that's what you say. But as I learned the process, it inspired me because I would watch maybe 1,000 salespeople come through the dealership I was working at the time and not make it. And I would always wonder why, like, this is easy, but it's not. It's a process. And it was easy to me because I like talking to people. And I like to listen to people. And part of anything, I don't care if it's sales, I don't care what it is being an active listener. Finding out what a person's needs are. And if you genuinely want to help someone, then you would find the product that they need. And that's what I'm about. I'm not about overselling. I'm about completing what you need.
Well, I think that what that says to me as I listen to you is that your critical thinking skills have got to be off the charts, because a lot of people don't know how to listen. Because when you listen to an individual, then that person is telling you everything, don't care how many words it is. They've already told you it probably in the beginning or in the end, it's this. Yeah. And so how long did it take you to develop that skill of listening that you had to, that you've got the ability now to perfect?
Well, I really learned to listen when I was a child because my mom would give me very precise instructions on doing things. And she was not a person that wanted to repeat herself. So I think I developed it early. And then, I was in the military and you had to be very precise dealing with those sergeants and drill sergeants and colonels and majors, everybody, and I loved my experience in the military. It taught me so much about being an adult. Not that my mom didn't teach me, but it's world experience that helps you develop integral skills that will help you through life. And so going from city to city or country to country, you learn to adjust as you go to different places to become successful.
Well, I want to thank you for your service. What branch did you serve?
In the Army.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got to take a punch at you. I'm sorry for you, I was in the Navy.
I understand. We all couldn't be great now. No. I give a lot of respect to anybody that served, especially the Navy, because I can't swim. So that's half the reason I joined the Army, because I can't swim, and I didn't want to even learn how at that point. I just wanted to stay on land.
I hear you. So tell us, how do you help your clients achieve their business goals?
So I help them achieve it by sitting down with them. I do a free first session, and I just want to see if we're a match. If we're a match, then I can move forward. But I listen to where the pain is, where is the hurt at the most. And a lot of times, and this is why I talk about this a lot, it's based off the process. Like what, you find out more about the business as they talk, and then you figure out, where is the breakdown in the business. And once you figure that out, it's a lot easier to put a process together to fix that process.
Oh, wow. Okay. So can you share a success story from your coaching career?
Oh, absolutely. I hope that I have many of them, but one I can think about in particular, I had a client that in the midst of training them to achieve a different goal, they were a HR business partner in the midst of trying to help them achieve a greater goal, which they wanted to move up in the ranks of the HR world. This person actually lost their job. Not because of anything I did, they was just doing a job reduction, and probably half that company got laid off in the middle of coaching. So a lot of coaches will just walk away. Like, well, when you get your money back up, give me a call. Well, I made it my personal mission to help this client get a new job and a better job. And I want to say it was only 4 months later, went from an HR business partner to an HR director.
Oh, wow.
And what it was is a lot of people don't understand skills that you already have done in one job meet the criteria for another job, because most bosses don't want to do their own job. So you find yourself in the middle of doing their jobs. Well, you need to know what you're doing and write that down. Look, you achieve this goal, this goal, this goal. You help do this, this, and this. Now put it on paper. Don't miss out on your blessings because you felt like that was part of your job, because every job does not have the same criteria, even though it has the same name.
So when you're doing your coaching, I mean, I'm sure that is based on what industry in which these people are in.
Yes.
But when you're doing your coaching, is there a thing or two or a few things that are just general, that goes cross-sectional into all industries that you point at in the beginning, or do you is everything just custom as to how you're dealing with your customers?
So that's a half and half question. I don't think, like, a plumber can't do the same thing as a salesperson, but there's still a process involved with it. Just like anything that you do. So it's up to me to decide, one, if I want to take on this weight of figuring that out. But two, I do my research. Like, I'll go days finding out about the industry. I'll call people. I'm very well connected with networks in other industries, and I'll call and I'll ask, questions that will help me determine if this is a good fit. Because again, I don't want to waste anybody's time or money. I want to make sure that there is a way I can help you, or at least that I think I can. And I go off of not only experience in life, but also experience in other industries. So certain industries I won't touch. Like, I won't do like a administrative coach. And the reason why is because they're very, very picky about like how they want to be coached. And an executive coach is more fit for something like that. But like your everyday workers, salespeople, vendors, things like, I can do that with no problem, but I kind of know my limits on what I can handle.
Okay. So what are some common challenges your clients face, and how do you help them overcome these?
A lot of the challenges most people face is just overcoming the fear. So like, fear stops a lot of people from moving forward in any industry. And that's not just for my clients, but that's worldwide. Fear of rejection, of getting the no. The best thing about me is I've heard so many no's that, you got to hit it from different angles. So most people's biggest mountain to overcome that I have found is just the fear of applying, the fear of asking, the fear of just saying, may I? People hate rejection. I don't know why, because no matter what, if this person says no, the next person might say yes. You might get 10 no's before you get the yes for the job that you're looking for.
Right.
So I always ask people, what's on the other side of your fear?
Mm.
And, you know, they ask me what I mean, like, what is your biggest fear? What are you afraid of? Because in life, to get things, I've learned that you have to sacrifice things. So how far are you willing to go?
Well, now, you know, you just said a mouthful, and I just have a follow-up to that.
Sure.
Have you ever had one of your clients that you asked that question of tell you that they fear success?
I'm trying to think back. Not success, no. They fear, again, they fear the no. So that is the fear of success, because you're only coming to me because you're trying to get somewhere.
Right.
Right. I'm a coach. So
Right.
coaches are trying to get you to wherever it is you're trying to go, which, you know, it's a whole nother conversation between therapists and coaches, you know, or,
Right.
you know, psychologists and coaches. You know, I just make a plan and I follow up on this plan and I ask you questions like, why are you not following the plan? If this is what you want, why aren't you doing it? And most of the time it's because of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And then fear of changing, right? So a lot of times in life, you get to a ceiling at a place that you've been at 20 years.
Right. Right.
And the fear is, if I go over here, how do I know I'm going to keep my job? Right. So that's something I run into a lot, because the job that you're looking for is over there.
Right.
It's not even available where you work. It's over there. It's in Atlanta or it's in California, and you're sitting in Kansas. Like, well, Kansas doesn't even have this job available. It's in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times people don't understand that, you know, you're condensed to the population that you're at.
Right.
Sometimes you have to. I've changed cities 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a fear involved? Yes, but it's also an excitement involved. Like something new is about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the other side of fear.
You know, I got to say this, Coach Cannon, because I think, you know, the one thing that I don't know if you can agree with me or not, but I think you will, is that being in the military is one of those things that actually helps you when it comes to that, because you don't know where that next duty station is going to be. You just know you got to go there. So when you get there, you're always anticipatory about what's this city going to be like, especially if it's a place you have not went to. At least I was always like that. And I was like, you know, hey, it's cool as long as I learn and I know where I'm going, and I have to make the best of it. So that's what I'm going to do. So a lot of people, I think, just have that fear of actually going somewhere else. And as you say, looking in another place is because they're just uncomfortable with moving, period.
And you said the most important thing just a few seconds ago is learn. We're life learners. And, you know, I always tell people you have to keep learning. Take every experience as a learning lesson. Win, lose, draw, whatever. It's a learning experience that you add onto your tool belt, because you're going to need that later. I have found that every single thing I have done has come back to me. Now, if I learned from it, it's an easy objection to overcome. It just becomes regular life. If I didn't learn from it, I'm learning it again. Now, do you want to be the person that learns it again, or do you want to be the person that overcomes it every time?
Exactly.
You know, we train our minds and we train ourselves. And I tell people this all the time too: condition yourself for the worst conditions possible. Condition yourself for that. And that way, everything else is easy.
Right. That's why survival skills are so great for people that's been in the military, because we know how to survive.
It is. But, you know, it's not, you know, a lot of people are just afraid to go to the military, and there's nothing wrong with that. I salute you, even if you don't go. If you just try this thing we call life every day, that's a mountain in itself. But you have to be prepared to learn every day.
Mhm. So tell our audience this, as a business coach, what is the premise of that part of your work that you do with businesses? What does that mean? How does that have to come across, and what is it they have to get from that?
Well, the key to it all is something that I heard a million times going through the certifications for it, is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
um, Being aware, and awareness is huge, and it's a mountain of work to understand. In every situation you're in, you have to be aware.
Most
And
definitely.
so, like, if I don't care what kind of coach you are, if you're a life coach, executive coach, business coach, professional coach, sports coach, especially a sports coach, right?
Mhm.
Awareness, being on the field, being on the court, awareness is key. And it turns your world into a different world because you know what's going on.
Mhm.
So being aware of your company's state, being aware as the president, you have to be aware of this, the state of the union. You have to be aware. Being the president of a company is the same way. All these jobs that you see out here, you have to be aware. Store managers have to be aware. You can't treat. You have to be aware of who works for you. You can't treat everybody the same. Everybody has different motives that make them work. Some people need money. Some people need recognition.
Mhm.
Some people just want a pat on the back and say, "Hey, I appreciate you doing that for me." Uh,
Mhm.
you have to be aware of people around you and what it takes to motivate them.
Mhm. So, how do you stay updated on the latest trends and best practices in business coaching?
I stay aware. I, I'm always following. People still call me for different kind of closes on car sales, and I stay trained up. I know what it takes. The worst thing you want to be is a sales guy from 1980s that haven't sold anything since 1980. I'm constantly selling both these books here.
Mhm.
So I find a way to sell something, to make sure that I'm staying updated, keeping relationships going. Because some coaches know some things you have no clue about. Like,
Right.
I have several friends that are coaches that I've met since I've been coaching,
Mhm.
and they're all very helpful
How are they helpful?
because we sit around and we talk about problems that you know occurred and how they solved it. I take that in. In anything in life I do, I try to take in the good.
Mhm.
So if it's something I wouldn't do,
Mhm.
personally, I
Mhm.
leave it out of my life. If it's
Right.
something that I would practice myself, then I will give that as an attested advice. Like, I've
Mhm.
heard this works for you.
Right. So, what advice would you give to someone considering a career in business coaching?
Get certified. Uh, Find a niche. It's um, it's a lot of executive coaches out there. It's a lot of business coaches, and it's a lot of places to get your certifications from. It's a million of them,
Mhm.
and so I always say pick something that you're very good at,
Mhm.
and then find out how many people already do it. It's a research involved.
Mhm. How do you measure the success of your coaching programs?
The happiness, how it made somebody feel to be in in my coaching program.
Mhm.
So that's the only way you can measure it, is were they satisfied? Right now I have all 5 stars, and that's great. And I hope that people continue to uh, love the coaching I give, because it's personalized,
Mhm.
and you you never really know after they leave you unless they call back or you follow up. I always say, when I'm done with this project or this client, then it's time for me to go to a different one. And
Mhm.
so if they call back and say, "Hey, I have this now that I'm trying to accomplish," well, I'm happy to help. And that's a lot of times just people will tell you how they feel. They'll put it on. They'll give you a review somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell me, with your program, do you have like some kind of survey or some kind of rating system that you give your clients when you're done with them, where they can actually do this and you put it out to the world?
I asked them to do what everybody else would ask them to do. If you liked it or if you didn't like it, give me a Google review and be honest.
Right.
I found that having people fill out a piece of paper, and I'm the owner, I'm the only person looking at it. But
Mm-hmm.
you get the opportunity to tell the world with the Google review.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't take that off.
Right.
And so like that's as real as it comes.
Right.
A lot of people fear telling people that, but that's like people give you their honest estimation of how they felt about you, whether it's true or not. That's how they felt, so that's their truth.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe your coaching process?
Yes. So again, first thing I do is I sit down and I assess the situation, and then after the free session, the 30-minute free session, we'll set up another session. That session, I talk about what we talked about in the very first session. With that, we lay out clear goals that they're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, they'll receive an email of the goals they're trying to do, and I will have an email set up with a plan on how to get those done based off of my opinion. Now, the thing about a lot of people with coaching is I don't tell you what to do. I give you options on how to get it done. And so that way you have options. You don't have to go with A or B or C, but this would be the best route based off of my professional opinion.
So does that mean, like, let's say with the initial consultation that you have and you guys decided that you're going to work together, does that mean that you put together this plan that you put before them, that they answer the questions as you put that out to them, and you're just jotting down, this is what you said you're going to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8. You guys agree, and you kind of like just help them to shape it and put it into the box. So once they put it into the box, they got the package.
Yeah. Basically, all you're doing is you're coaching them just like a baseball coach or a basketball coach. You're coaching them to achieve whatever is in that box. So if you want to, if you're like a supervisor and you want to be a manager, well, there's certain steps you have to take depending on what industry you're in. True. So, one thing I will ask them is, what did your manager do to get where they are? Because managers love talking about themselves and how they did this and how they did that. So I'm sure you have 100 stories. Just tell me one. The key to doing anything in supervisor mode is to set your footprint. Mm-hmm. You have to have a footprint. Now, I did learn that from a district manager when I was a general manager. And that was like the first thing she ever said to me was, where's your footprint at in this store? And I had no clue what she meant by that, but I wanted to know because it sounded cool. And I wanted to know what that meant. Mm-hmm. And when I found out,
I'm sorry.
When I found out, because she coached me into a footprint, I made sure no matter what I did at any job, I put my footprint in the sand.
Oh, wow. So that means you're leaving your mark.
I leave in my mark. Nobody's going to do it the same way I did it and have the same results I did. And I can guarantee that.
Oh, wow. Now, see, I like that, because I think, once you, especially, I guess, I'm just assuming because I haven't done coaching, but what sounds so interesting about your work is that when you put this 120% into helping this individual or this business, and you're helping them to build where they get to this branding process, mm-hmm. Your process that you use to get them there is one of a kind.
It is. That's what all coaches. I'm not taking away from any other coaching system, but you're getting 100% of me. Mm-hmm. Like I went through a process to get where I am. And I post something, I believe it was on LinkedIn the other day, that a guy told me, one of my managers, back when I first got into sales and I found out what the managers made, I said, well, how do I do that? I want to do what you do. That
Okay.
would be enough. That would be
Yeah.
enough for me. And
Right.
he said, well, Bub, you're a sales guy, and that's what, you'll never be a manager. Well, I took that kind of personally, because I've always been the guy that try to overcome anything you said. And I definitely did all that I could. I put my footprint without even knowing what that was back then. I was selling cars like candy bars. And, that's not what it took. It just, I was at my ceiling where I was at. And this is what I talk about, a lot with people. Like, you might be where you're at, and that's your ceiling. That might be it for where you're at. I went and actually opened up. I had enough money saved up from what I had already done to open up a cell phone store. And I made myself the general manager.
Okay.
And we were successful for a few years until the economy collapsed.
2008.
But yeah. And so we were very successful. I was selling phones from Nashville to St. Louis, Texas. I had a great relationship with FedEx. And so we had, and I did something different than any other cell phone store would do. I would take, a box full of phones, and I would go to a car dealership with my laptop, and I'll sell the phone right there and set them up right there. And then go to a real estate place, do the same thing. Go to a beauty salon, do the same thing. I wasn't sitting in the office. I had somebody sitting there for me, and I'll go somewhere else. If the public don't come to you, go to them. And so the reason why I tell you the story, because the post that I posted was, there was no manager job available for me for who I was at that time. So I created my own. And sometimes that's what you have to do. And I haven't stopped being a manager since I've done that. You have to create your own, whatever it is. If you can't get it because they won't let you, then you take it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, you know what? I got to tell you, that's the only way to do it now, especially when you look like yourself and me.
Yes, you have to take it. If they won't give it to you, take it. Create your own door and open it yourself. Sometimes it's best. And this is why coaching is hard for a lot of people, because you're waiting for people to be ready to invest in themselves. And, people aren't always willing. The people that need the coaching the most aren't willing to invest in themselves. And so, like, when I'm talking to people, I'm saying, well, this is the reason why. It's because if you can't afford me now, what else can't you afford that you're depriving yourself of?
Oh, wow. Now that's interesting. So when you put that like that, can you tell us what are some of the things that you've heard?
Oh, people tell me all the time, well, your rates are too high. I say, I got some of the cheapest rates out there. Like, I go to websites all over the country to make sure I'm priced right and priced fairly. And so it's not a fact that they can't afford it. They just have other things that's more important to them at the time. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If I can't help you 4 or 5 times more than what you're paying me, that means I'm giving you way more than the value than you're giving me. I want to help you. I want to make you great. I always believe that you can't truly be great until somebody surpasses you that you've helped. And I've been in jobs where I've made people managers, district managers, all of that. People that's worked for me. These are facts. And so, like, that's why I feel like my method works, because you started with me.
Wow. I like that. What qualities do you think are essential for a successful business coach?
Being a servant. You have to be prepared to actively listen and really want to help. Like, really want to help someone. If you don't really want to help someone, it's not the right job for you. You can be a trainer or a coach for a company but you have to want to genuinely see people do better. That's my contribution to sales, is that I genuinely want sales to live on way past me. And that's what that's why I created that first book, Is Not Rocket Science to Sales, is because I saw so many people getting out of the industry because they didn't know the basic needs that it took to become a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason I didn't make it a thick book. It's like 40 pages long. And the reason is because salespeople don't have time to read. They're too busy trying to sell. I value your time. Look, it's some great sales experts out there. Brian Tracy, all of them. I respect them. But their books are like 300 pages.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay. Well,
And I've bought them. I've bought those books. I delved into every single one of those books, every single one of them. But the key to it is I respect your time because I know what you're really trying to do is find out what the key is. What's the trick to getting somebody to say yes? You got to follow the process. The process has been around longer than anybody. It's, somebody already put this process together. You have to learn the process and craft it to the way you move.
You know what's interesting? I had a guest on the show because some of the things that you're mentioning is what he was mentioning because he is a car salesman.
Okay.
He was a car salesman. And it's so interesting to hear you say that because what he was saying, what made him the top salesman is he took the system / process, whatever you want to call it. He made it work for him that made him the #1 car salesman for years running.
Yeah.
And his process was like so streamlined. And it was fascinating because I'm like, I never heard somebody in sales talk like that before until now. So I'm like, that's got to be interesting to make a process like that work because that's got to be difficult.
Well, I'll tell you this. I got very, very personal with almost all my customers. I've sent them birthday cards, Christmas cards, all of that. And like, I think after 2 years, I really didn't have to go out on the lot and look for customers. Like I was getting so many repeats and referrals that I had to hire a girl from, I hired a girl from MTSU because I was in Nashville. She would come down 3 times a week and I paid her out of my pocket just to do my letters for me. I was too busy. I had customers I had to take care of and their families would bring more families to me. And I had people driving down from St. Louis and up from, Kansas and, from the side in Atlanta. I can remember all of that. And it's all because you build relationships. And I think that like all this internet stuff, it takes away the relationships, but people only buy from people that they trust. And that's it. There's nothing past that. Even when you're buying from Amazon, you're buying from Amazon because you trust that they're going to deliver that package.
Right.
It's a relationship.
Right.
You trust it because it's been proven that they can do it.
Mm-hmm. So how do you balance your coaching responsibilities with your other roles?
Well, that's still working. I give everything I have to everything. And so I feel like I'm trying to figure the right word to say it because I'm a Libra, so I'm just a natural balancer. Okay. But it's like I call it empathy. That's the best way to put it.
Okay.
I put a lot into everything, but I don't inhale any of it. I don't, I'm not a sympathy person. I'm an empathy. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And so that's kind of how I balance my life.
Okay. So to sum up what you do here in business coaching, and I want, if you don't mind, like giving a message to those that are in those underserved and marginalized communities, about business coaching and what it does, how it works, and the things that you do that makes it so much better. What is the message that you could leave for them right now?
Right now, the best message I can give to anybody that's wanting to get into coaching, that's the question you're asking me, or wanting to be a coach, is you have to be assertive. You have to put the foot forward. You can't wait for the right timing, because everybody wants to wait for the right timing to get into the market, and you can't wait. You just have to go in. And I would tell you, have some validity about it. Why would anybody buy into you?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a point. Nobody wants to buy a loser. Everybody wants to buy a winner. So you got to figure out what is it that you're winning in, and why and how did it make you a winner?
That's good stuff there. Let's transition over to your being an author. Tell us what inspired you to write because life be lifing.
It was just a lot on my mind, and that book was written kind of weird. And when I say that, I just wrote out everything I wanted to say, and then I had to piece it back together into when I learned everything in that book. So, like, everything that I wanted to say is a developmental skill that helps you throughout life. But I had to go back and remember when I learned it and what lesson did I learn through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember I have a very good memory. And so I had to remember, I did this as an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old. I did this as a teen. I did this as a 20. In my 20s, I did this in my 30s, and I did this in my 40s. And then I broke it down. Those are my chapters.
Okay. Oh, wow. So, I mean, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
Yeah, well, adolescence, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond. And then I have a extra chapter in there. But everything that's in there, I experienced through the years that I talk about. And so, no matter what part of that book you read, you've experienced it, and most likely you've experienced it through that time. And the reason why I thought that was important, because I feel like sometimes people go through things in life and they feel like they're alone. And so, like, you feel like I'm not making what I should be making, but I have these skills, and I went to school, and I did this, and everybody feels like their problem is alone. If you notice, everybody's emergency is their emergency. You get it?
Yeah.
But it's not really, because if the key to the book is saying, look, this is going to happen to you. There's nothing wrong with this happening to you, because all you're going to do is wait. You're going to overcome the objection, and then you're going to move to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of live my life off of that. I read this book called The Secret. Just keep giving yourself positive affirmations, and positive things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was very inspired by writing this book, because one, I love the title, because life be life.
Right.
Yeah, all the time. And then, people come to a pit stop and just stand there like, no, overcome it and then go to the next level. You now have that on your tool belt to use it later, because it's going to come back around, and the world just wants to know that you learned from that, and now it's regular life again. It's like walking. We learned how to walk. We didn't crawl forever. Right. We learned how to walk. We learned how to eat on our own. We learned how to tie our shoes.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is just the natural order of life.
I got to tell you this. I mean, because, I know after this, we're definitely going to stay in touch. But, I love the way you philosophize things, because, no, really, I do. Because, I definitely understand, that approach. But also philosophically, if you don't look at life, but the things in life and the things that you are doing and you are a part of, if you don't see it, you can't be it.
Exactly.
And most people can't see it.
You have to visualize it first.
Yes.
But look, here's something that my mom used to tell me. If God brought it in your head, that means you're supposed to do it. Just do it. Nike said that, 50 years ago? Just do it.
Look
They
at,
didn't come up with that. Everything in the world has been said.
yep.
Everything. There's no new words out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just make what's out there a part of you. And don't, I told you earlier, I don't take in any negativity, or I don't take in anything that I don't think will work.
Mm-hmm.
I use useful information. And if more people just use the useful information that they get, stop inhaling all the negativity. Like a lot of businesses have meetings, right? Every day, 5 hours long. These meetings are about problems, but you could just have a 2-hour meeting about solutions. Everybody in the building knows about the problems, but have 10 people come to the meeting with solutions, with 2 solutions to every problem, and pick the best ones.
Yes. Wow. So, how has your personal experience influenced your writing?
All the way. I mean, as far as the first book, it's not rocket science, it's sales. That is me all day. The steps to the sale. That's I was actually writing that book to be a pamphlet for my company, Canon Sales Consulting, and it was just got too long to be a pamphlet.
It kept growing.
This kept growing. Like, oh, I need to say this. Oh, I should say this too. Oh, let me tell them this story. And before I knew it, I was like, well, this is not a pamphlet anymore. I could make it a book. And the great thing about writing a book is it doesn't have to be 100 pages. My mom had the book out. She came out in 2008. And it was like 100 pages. I got 2 books together that's 100 pages, but they sell really well. Like my second book sold over 700 copies. And I don't have any marketing team on it. I want one, but I don't have one. And that's another thing I want to tell you when you asked me about coaching, right? I said this in one of my videos is, get a coach that knows about the business that you're into, that you want to know more about. Consider the source. I'm not going to call an electrician about a plumbing problem. So that's the other thing I want, the people watching is I don't necessarily have to be the right coach for you. But there is somebody that's an expert in what you're looking for, and that's the right coach for you. I had a coach. I had mentors. I don't see why everybody don't have one, because somebody out there is a little bit better than you, and you can learn something from them.
What message do you hope readers take away from your book?
From the it's not rocket science, it's sales. I want the readers that buy this is readers that would be for the market for that is someone that's never sold anything or very bad at selling something. So I would want them to walk away with knowing the process to the sale and becoming successful. It's not for an advanced salesperson at all. Even though a lot of my friends are advanced salespersons, they did come out and support. They really love that book, but it's for someone that wants to get into sales and wants to be successful, and the company they work for just hasn't trained them on it. Just buy the book. That's what I did. I bought books because I wanted to know more about sales. It was very exciting. It's a very fun career, and it has paid my bills and plus for 20 plus years. It's a very fruitful business, and it's 13% of the market.
Can you share a memorable moment from your journey as an author?
Yeah. I thought it was more. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I could just tell you, I flew to Houston because I had a car accident. And I had a car accident here in St. Louis, and they totaled out my car. I took about 30 books with me to Houston. And, I was in the car dealership. I sold a bunch of the books in the car dealership. Then I went to a place I used to work, sold a bunch of the books. I went home without any books. I drove home from Houston without any books. And I hate driving around anywhere without any books on me because I'm always telling people about my books and somebody always buys one. But that was incredible to sell 30 books in a city I don't live in, just, as I'm buying a car. I don't really, I don't look at these books as income. I look at them as information to help people, after me. I joke about it a lot, but I always tell people, I'm here forever now. I have a book out. I'm here forever. And then, it's a joke, but it's real. Like somebody may need this in 2090.
Right.
They might need these books.
2090.
Yeah, like there's gonna be a 2090. So, even though I might not be here, the information that I left will be here. And so that's legacy to me. I don't look at my kids to be my legacy when it comes to my profession. I look for what did I contribute to the profession that has paid me for so many years. What did I contribute personally to make it better? And I learned that actually from Game of Thrones.
Okay. As believe it or not, there's they actually have a lot of messages in shows like that. From a philosophical perspective, that you can actually get the message. But if you're not looking at it and actually following it, you'll miss that too. So
yeah, absolutely. I look for a message. I looked at a message in The Wire. I looked at those messages. A lot of people get mad when their favorite character dies or something happens. But I was like, that was really the bad guy. Like on Snowfall, I was like, Franklin was the bad guy. Okay. I did not feel sorry for him, but I understood the message that was coming from what happened. Like, Avi or whoever it was from the previous season said, if you get too greedy, they know your weakness. And they knew his weakness was that money.
Yep. You can't to stop. You want it all.
My mom said, never be too desperate that someone can buy
you. Ooh, see, I love that. I love that too, because what she's saying, there's a lot of people that I know need to hear that.
Yeah.
A lot of people need to hear that.
You can't be buyable. That's why I didn't go with it like a company to put these books out. I self-published my books because I wanted to own everything that had to do with these books.
I don't blame you, because that's what I do with mine too.
Yeah.
What challenges did you face while writing your book?
Writer's block. Just coming in here and sitting here in my office for 3 hours and felt like I didn't have anything to say. That's scary, because am I done now? Is the book over? And so it's like, well, I can't force it. This has to be a natural process. I feel like if it's not organic, it's not real. And I know it's a lot of people out there using AI to make books. I know that. And I probably could have got some help. But then it's like going on a 4-mile run. It just don't feel the same if you do it. It's different when you do it outside versus on a treadmill. Yes. It feels different to your body.
Yes.
I love the treadmill, don't get me wrong, but if it's a nice day outside, I don't mind. It's a lot of people using that AI, and it's nothing wrong with if their message is in there. I just wanted to do the real work on it.
I'm gonna tell you, as you say that, and you mentioned writer's block. Now, I'll just tell you, I don't write unless my creative juices are just flowing and my inner self is saying right. Exactly. When it tells me that, I go and I just write, and I just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going until it's gone. If it's like a week and it's going, it's still going. But the thing is, with a lot of authors that I have talked to that come across when they have writer's block, I think it's more or less like, before AI got popular, it's like the AI situation. In other words, they're going to have something else to write it for them, and they take it and say it's theirs.
I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, but I've read that, and it's just not cohesive at all to me.
Yeah. And I know AI is the future. I do. I know it. And we're going to have to integrate that into coaching soon and in sales. I remember when the internet first came out into the sales process.
Yes.
And all the older guys, they're like, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. I needed to learn more because I wanted to always be up, have one up on everybody.
Yep.
So it's just something else. As the world turns, we will always find something new to add. If the world is at a standstill, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us, how do you balance your writing with your other responsibilities?
So writing for me, I'm not a full-time author. I was blessed to be able to do 2 books last year, consider I did none before. So yeah, like my next book won't be out until like January. And that's because I'm formulating it in my head right now how I want it to go. These 2 were easy because I knew how I wanted them to go. But my next book is going to be more about like you deserve. Like I want people to know they deserve the life that they're living.
Right.
So I think that's gonna be a little more difficult because there's only so many times you can say that, right? So a lot of that is situational.
Well, yeah, but also think about it this way as well. Is that just like your other books? I mean, it's one that never gets old because it's always going to be relative.
And I also want to do some more research on imposter syndrome because a lot of people here in the United States suffer from that. And so I want to definitely have all my research done when I'm talking about that.
Now, don't that have to come from a therapeutic side?
Not if I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just talking about what you deserve.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that's going to be good too.
I think it'll be interesting. If I can piece it together right, it will. I think it will be a great book, a great read. If I can't, then I'll scrap the whole project and do something else. Because if I can't do it right, I won't do it.
Well, see, again, I don't think it matters about thinking about the opinion of what's right and what's wrong. It's what you're thinking about and how you're seeing it. So I think if this is the way you see what imposter syndrome especially looks like, then you can always describe it and show it and tell it to folk, via the story that in which you're writing it. So it's like, is it to the letter of what therapy says? It might not be. Is it something that some people can say, oh, this is an opinion about this, that, or the other? Use it as an opinion piece if you like, but this is how you see it. So if you see it, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong to, what they say from a literary perspective, but this is how you see it.
That's true, but I also feel an obligation. I don't want anybody to take that piece and think that this is the law. Because, it's just like when you read something on the internet, oh, it's got to be true. It's on the internet. So it actually being in a book, it should definitely be, accuracy to me is important only because I feel a social responsibility to people to make sure I'm giving them the best opinion or best possible results out of it. The book name would be the same, but as far as discussing the imposter syndrome, which I just want to touch on that a little bit, it's not going to be the entire book. I just want to touch on it because I know it's a real thing out here. And I know that, people are very blessed and don't realize how blessed they really are.
What advice would you give to aspiring authors?
Write the book. Like, don't let any. And I'm actually helping a few people now that have reached out to me because they saw how well my books did, and I've helped them find editors that will help them. And a lot of people came to me after they read my book and was like, I've been wanting to write a book. I said, well, then write it. Like, there's nothing stopping you from putting something on paper. There's nothing stopping you from pulling out a typewriter or a computer and just starting. Because to do anything, you got to start first.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start and you let it sit there for 5 years and then you get back to it and then you finally finish it 10 years later, no matter when you finish it, you finished it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to start to even give yourself a chance. So any author that has not written the book yet, start writing.
Mm-hmm. So how do you stay motivated to write consistently?
Well, I feel like I have something to say. And I want people to learn from any mistakes I've made. Well, I don't want to say mistakes. I think everything brought me to where I am right now. So I don't want to say mistakes, but missteps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all have missteps. Like, I could have did that differently, but if I didn't, I wouldn't be where I am today because it would have altered how I moved.
Right.
I needed those losses just like I needed those wins.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe your writing process?
I try to always formulate it in my head first, like the chapters, how I want that to look. I try to decide. I'm weird. I like to do the book cover in my head first
Mm-hmm.
because I think to me that sets the tone for the entire book.
Mm-hmm.
How I have the outside looking versus the inside, because the inside all looks the same as words, but the outside is what attracts people to the book.
Right.
So I'm weird like that.
What topics do you enjoy writing about the most?
Sales, because it's what I know the best. People gravitate to what they know the most about. And if you did something day in, day out for 25 years or so, you know that the best.
Mm.
And so I tell the salespeople that work for them, I said, let people talk about what they know best themselves.
So before we get to this last part here of what you do, I want to do a word association game with you.
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to give you a word, and I want to know the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Coaching.
Me.
Consult.
First thing come on consult. Sales.
Process.
Sales.
Footprint.
Managing.
Success.
I would say Bill Gates.
Aware.
Life.
Structure.
Companies.
Management.
I don't have anything for management. Training.
Train.
Managers.
Sales.
Cars.
Now, of all those words, which one is most memorable and most important to you?
Awareness.
Awareness. Why?
Because you have to be aware to do any of the other stuff you were talking about. Any of it. Any of the other words, they all revolve around being aware.
Okay. And so basically, so it's like they're all mutually exclusive.
I think if there was a family chart of those words, awareness would be the grandmother.
Okay. 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 We're going to transition to this final segment here, and we're going to talk about your work as a consultant.
Okay.
What led you to pursue a career in consulting?
As far as coaching, consulting, or sales consulting?
Uh, both or one or the other?
Well, so I was getting a lot of calls throughout my career. And it first started out, I want to say it first started when I moved back here to St. Louis. I was getting calls from Nashville and from Texas from friends, and they'll tell me about, a situation they had with a customer. And I'll be like, I would try this. And then they'll call back the next day and be like, hey, that worked. And I would be like, cool, and move on. And then it would happen a lot more. And it wasn't the same people, but I feel like my opinion counts. And you don't have to be an influencer to be someone that is looked as to as an expert in a field.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to, people just have to know that you're reliable and you're consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially when it comes to consulting, you're absolutely right, because if people value the opinions and the things you do and the things you say, that's key to not only establishing that great relationship that you mentioned earlier, but it also establishes you for being the person that's the knowledgeable person in that industry.
Absolutely.
How do you support businesses in your role as a consultant?
Well, I like to. So a lot of people want the executive coaches in businesses, right? And this is something I always find. They'll get coaches, and it's by default, I guess. A lot of big businesses, they don't get coaches for the right thing. They get executive coaches for their executive branch. The executive branch isn't doing anything. Don't get me wrong. I feel like there's a need, because you wouldn't have them if it wasn't. But the people that's on the ground is the people that need the coaching. The people, whether you're at a hospital and you're a nurse, or you're you're selling cars, the sales manager and the general manager don't need the coaching. They're depending on the people out there on the floor to sell it. If you're in a hospital, the nurses need the coaching. It is not the executive branch. What do they need coaching for? They've already made it to the pinnacle. They're already at the top of their game.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that they can't use help, but the people that's going to make you greater, the people that's outside working.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of businesses and companies, I don't know why it's not part of their insurance or influence or anything. Like, if you don't have a budget for consulting or coaching or training your people, you already lost the game.
Wow. Can you describe a typical day in your role as a consultant?
Lots of phone calls, lots of follow-ups, tons of calls. I'm constantly on the phone. I remember when you had to pay by the minutes.
What you talking about? Yes, sir.
I had 5,000 minutes with T-Mobile back in it. This is before I had my cell phone stores. And I had 5,000 minutes, and I would burn through that like water. You still get your nights and weekends free, and I would burn through 5,000 minutes by myself. So yeah, I'm good at talking on the phone with people, and a lot of encouraging. And let me tell you, where a lot of people miss the mark at is networking, especially as coaches. You think that if you just advertise on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of that, you think that you're going to have all those people that's on your network buy. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You have to get out and get on the ground floor and actually go to places where other business owners are, and you have to talk to those business owners and let them know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Staying in the house and trying to market and strategize marketing, it's not going to work. You absolutely have to be out with people, building relationships every day. And then you have to cultivate the relationships you already have.
Yep, that you do.
There's no time to be indolent out here. None.
So, what strategies do you use to build trust with your clients?
I would say my biggest strategy with that would be proof. Like, you know, cards, letters, Google reviews, and then just sitting down talking to me. Like I will talk to anybody, and if they tell me what the problem is, where the pain is, again, you tell me where the pain is, I'll relieve the pressure.
I'm sorry. Can you tell us, how do you stay updated on best practices in consulting?
Again, training. You have to consistently know your business. And that's with anything you do. Like, you have to know your business. You have to know what's the latest and greatest training out there. Are you being recertified? Is there somebody out there doing something new? Are you talking to other coaches? What are they saying? You have to stay up on new training all the time. And I would tell people, if you go to a workshop with me, don't think I haven't been to 3 workshops already with somebody else that I look up to. I do that as well.
I think that makes so much sense, though. I've always been, I know I'm not going to say that it's a struggle, but it's one of those things that I actually think about, as in when like you mentioned the training, or how people have to do things to, certify, recertify, whatever have you. And it's like, to try to find those things and find something that's reputable. How do you determine which of these places are reputable when it comes to the turning and the training and the certifications or recertifications? How do you decide which of these places are actually more reputable that can help to get your people to where they need to be?
So I went with a place that was inside of a learning facility to get my certifications. I went to Lindenwood and got my professional certification, and I also got a life coaching certification. So I got both of those certifications with Lindenwood. And I felt like you can go to like a Newman or I don't know, all the Tony Robbins and all of that. You can go to those, and they're highly successful, and their name has a lot of recognition. But also, there's still nothing wrong with going to a university and getting it. And also you get to make those networks and connections there. Because all of this leads back to your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
Now, that's at the end of the day, you have to talk to people. And it's on those classes are going to be so condensed. I'm not taking anything away from it, because I love me some Brian Tracy and Les Brown and all of those guys. I love all of them. And at the end of the day, it goes back to, I want to invest in something that's going to work best for me. I think all the programs are great out there. I don't think there's any programs anymore still around where they don't have good teachings in them. The education is perfect, but I picked where I picked because I thought it worked best for me.
So what challenges do you face in your role, and how do you overcome them?
My biggest challenge right now, and it's not staying authentic to myself, but it's more content creation is something that is a leading provider in people and views, right? So I don't want to be the guy that's, guess what, guys? I don't want to be that. Like, you can do it all day, but then, it's what is click value worth? How many people am I actually, I have to sit back and look at how many people am I actually helping with the videos? How many people are actually watching the videos all the way through? There's data out there for all of that. And I read it. I want to help as many people as I can through this online service. But I also want to help as many people as I can sitting right here in my seat. You know, the values are not different for me. I just want to be able to pass along something to you that will help you become better in the future.
Mm, okay. And you know, as much sense as that makes, I mean, like, can you tell me, like, in that situation, what would that look like from, let's just say, from not so much of a hands-on perspective, but kind of like in a directional situation? How would that look like, or what would that look like?
Um, I'm help me understand what you're saying.
So basically, like, let's just say, instead of, let's say, I'm gonna use myself as an example. Okay, instead of me putting myself in the situation of actually understanding, what's happening in all these new trainings and what the people are getting, I'm just like, okay, you need to get training at this place. You need to go there and do it.
Mhm,
And you need to get some training. You need to go over here and you need to do it. But I'm not
mhm.
being trained. How does that look?
So what that looks like is when your people come back from the training and they know more than you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and don't get me wrong, I always like for I think somebody told me one time when I got into management, he was like, this is when the student has surpassed the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
because I had surpassed my teacher. Well, you don't want that to be the situation every time. That
Yeah.
should be a one in a million time that you did everything you could to pull this person from the grassroots all the way to the mountaintop. But if it happens every time, you start to look diminished yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a person, and I always tell people this, if you stop learning, you stop living.
Yeah.
So don't ever stop learning. Learn something every day if you can. Don't ever stop learning.
Yeah. Um, how do you measure the success of the consulting projects you work on?
Uh, So just like I guess the great Maya Angelou would say, it's how do they feel? You get like, you know, they may not have got to their end goal, but they might have got closer than they ever got in their life.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make them feel?
Okay.
And that's, in anything that we do, I don't care. If you buy a car, this is one thing I used to hate. Somebody buys a car from me and they come back and say, my brother said I could get a better deal if I would have. Well, you felt completely super satisfied when you left here. You have made the best deal you possibly can make. And now you come back because somebody else put in your head, but then they drive up there and they driving up in some hoopty. Like, well, you need to come in here and talk to me too. Like, however you made somebody feel is that's the only thing that matters is how do you feel? Your result will show because of their success.
Mhm.
If they are exactly the same as they were when they left your office and you're 4 weeks in or 6 weeks in and they haven't matured gradually into what you're looking for them to be and what they're looking for them to be, you just write them a check and give them their money back
Mm.
because you didn't do anything. You have when I sell service on cars, my main goal and intention is to let that car leave the shop better than it came, or you
Right.
just wasted a whole bunch of time.
Right.
Don't let your clients waste their time with you.
Mm. So every second, I understand that cliche, make every second count, but just from a literal perspective, let's say with the consulting, how do you really make every second count?
Because every second does count. It's just like I said at the very beginning. We are living in times right now where you have to have a skill and you have to be 10 times better than everybody else. And if somebody's feels like they're wasting their time with me and they can get with somebody better, then they should do that, because I may not be motivating them in the correct way.
Mhm.
You know, you have to, this is where every second counts. You have to get your dollars worth immediately. You know, not saying you're going to be a vice president of a company in 2 weeks, but you should see yourself moving somewhere within like 4 weeks, 6 weeks. It's like working out. If I start working out today, I won't see the results of that workout for 8 weeks, but I should see something.
Yes.
You should see something, whether it's in yourself, how you talk, the way you move, the confidence level. Something needs to be moving in that direction, even for you to get to that goal.
Mhm.
You know, and if it's not, then I feel like, you know, we cannot waste any moments right now, because you don't know how long you have to be great.
Yep.
You don't know how long you have to be great. And you need to be great as soon as possible so that you can get the money, so you can get the position, you can strategically move where you need to be at.
So, what advice would you give to someone considering a career in consulting?
I would tell them that they need to want to help someone. You have to, your love for people being successful has to be greater than your love for yourself.
Mhm. All
Because
right.
it's a selfless job. Nobody's gonna thank you later. They're gonna give you the money. That's your thanks. And then after that, they get to where they're gonna go.
All right. Can you share a success story from your work as a consultant?
Um, I try to be as vague as possible with it, because I don't like to
You don't have to go.
tell. Yeah, like I don't like your names, but I can remember one time a guy came to me about sales actually, and he was looking to get into like a closing role. And I wasn't sure if I could help him with that, because I don't believe that there should just be closers. I think that if you start a process, the people trust you and they should be with you. But I took on the role just to see how it will work out. And though he did not get the role in that where he was at, he did eventually get the role within a year.
Okay.
So to me, that was a success, because it goes back to what I was telling you earlier about sometimes the role is not where you are, it's somewhere else.
What do you find most rewarding about your work in consulting?
I feel like I leave a footprint with people, like a piece of me goes with them.
Mhm.
And that's like that to me, that's rewarding, that I have a piece of me with you now, and that's gonna move on. And you're gonna teach that to somebody without even knowing you're teaching that. Like you're gonna give that to somebody.
Mm. You know, I think you know, being a consultant is more than just demanding. This is just from my perspective. It's
Yeah,
more than just demanding, because I agree with you when you say you have to put a lot into it, because you want to make sure that before you even take this client on, that this client is going to listen and you're going to steer them in the right direction.
yeah,
But I think at some point, because you really want your people to succeed in what you're working with them on, I think it's a little bit more than, being selfless, because I think when you give these folks that 150%, not 120, but that 150% is going to be more than what they're going to be given. But you've got to be able to motivate them to really want to move and do this work,
that's
because
true.
a lot of people, it's sad to say, that they're just not self-motivated,
No,
and they're not going to move unless, you gotta demand. You gotta demand. And
gotta stay
so
on it.
that in itself, it takes so much that
Hmm.
not everybody is actually able to do that.
No,
And so that's, I've had some folk that I've spoken with, And I don't know, I guess maybe because, and just, being so altruistic, uh, I didn't have the heart to say that this is not what you need to do, but I just kept saying, you need to work harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You
tell
need to
people
work
I'm the
harder.
coach that care.
Yeah, because it's demanding.
It is. It's a
That's
lot of work, a lot of research, and a lot of patience. And I forgot to throw out that key is that you have to have patience because people aren't going to do things the way you want them to do it. And so they have to customize it for themselves. And you have to be patient while they do that because they're going to make a mistake or two. Uh, as I did getting into the roles I get, I've made mistakes. And the key is to learn from those mistakes immediately. If you see that you did something, or if somebody tells you, I'm very open to people telling me what I do wrong. You
right.
know, like if you see me make a mistake, tell me. I'm not going to yell at you about me making a mistake. That doesn't even make sense. But I understand the fear in telling somebody that, instead of just minding your business, I guess. But no, you should, because that's what people say. You should mind your business. No, you should take this criticism.
Right.
Like that's really how that should be. Like, my mom gave me some criticism when I was younger, when I was parenting, because I have 3 kids. And she gave me like, you should do this, this, and this. And though I didn't receive it the way I should have at the moment, when I thought back on it, I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. But, I also take into account that like, and my mom was raised in the 50s where I was raised in the 70s, like it's different cultures there, And so I think about that more and I should think about that less. Like right is right and wrong is wrong, period.
Right.
Like the Old Testament and the New Testament hasn't changed yet.
Right.
So, you know, I get it. And it's hard to tell people they're doing something wrong, especially when you care about them. And so
Yeah.
I'm the coach that cares. I hate to see you make this mistake, even though you're making it right now. I have very good friends, and I tell them all the time I wouldn't do that. And the reason why is I've experienced that. And they do it anyway. And I don't, hey, it doesn't hurt my feelings. They didn't pay for my opinion. But like, hey, it is what it is.
Mm. That's interesting. So look, as we come to the conclusion here, um, what are some of the things you want to leave with our audience that they could gain fruit for thought? How to contact you, how to find your books, your website, your social contacts. What are some of the things you'd like to leave with our audience this evening?
One thing I want to leave with the audience is one of the most important things: keep getting better at whatever it is you do, especially right now. Um, if you have a trade, like if you're a certified electrician, get better at it, be the best, and be able to multitask with it. You need to be able to take on multiple clients right now with anything that you do, because money is about to get shorter. I'm watching it. It's getting better as far as stocks, which I'm glad I have, but also, a lot of the money is going to get shorter, especially for Black people that's not invested well into um, their own occupation. You have to invest in yourself to be the very best you're going to be. Somebody knows how to do something, whatever you do, just a little bit better, and it's okay that they do. It's what do you take from that? How can you learn from that? That's what's important. Not that they're better than you and I hate you, because I don't. I want to be like you. That's it. And that's, it's so hard for us to say that. I don't hate you. I just want to be more like you. Just say it. And a lot of the hate in the world will go away, but it's because you can't say, you know, I admire what you do. I have a manager. I have a manager that I worked for. He's a general manager out in Houston, and he is way younger than me, and he has perfected managing better than anybody I know. He's not a micromanager.
Mm-hmm.
Not a micromanager. The best manager I have ever learned from. And, you know, we don't agree on everything, but one thing I can say is I admire how he manages.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, you would have to watch him all day to be able to duplicate it. It's incredible. And it's a salespeople out in Nashville that I admire. I don't know how they do it. They sell so great. And they don't, you know, they use the process, but they have tailor-made it for them. So find that person for you and tailor-make their process for you. Be successful as possible. You didn't wake up to be mediocre. And if you want to find me, you can find me on Google, Coach Emery Cannon. You can look me up on LinkedIn, Coach Emery Cannon. Facebook, Coach Emery Cannon. I believe if TikTok is still up, Coach Emery Cannon or Emery Cannon CPC. That's Certified Professional Coach. Get some certifications out there if you don't have them. Like, get something that you're better than somebody else at, no matter what it is. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, you know, I want to tell you, I appreciate you more than anything, and we definitely have to have you back because, you know, this was such a learning experience because, as you say, learning every day is the thing that we should do.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I love to learn. And I got to tell you that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I love the way you philosophize things because, you know, sometimes, you know, they're just things that people, you know, we can see things in a lot of ways, but sometimes, you know, it sounds like you've done this for so long that you can make the process seem really simple and really quick.
I feel like that sometimes, but practice. A guy told me one day that practice don't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So I just try to get a little bit better at each process every time. I did forget my website, www.cannonsalestraining.com. That was it. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I will definitely, you know, send you some dates out and see if you'll come back because we definitely would love to have you back.
Absolutely.
And, you know, this was really wonderful. And I appreciate you for being here. I really do.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. I hope somebody learned something today. I really enjoyed talking with you.
And for those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, please, if you have not yet, please hit the subscriptions button as well as the notifications button where you're able to get the notifications when all shows are about to go live. You can watch the shows live or you can go back and watch the shows at any time you'd like. I want to thank Coach Cannon for being here again, for doing a good job as he's doing. And, you know, for one of those things that we can look at in our communities as somebody else that looks like us that's being successful at his craft.
Thank you.
We will see you guys tomorrow evening for another great show. Thank you again, Coach Cannon, for being here. And we will